Let me first say that only Renata can get me to wear the same exact shoes, same color, that I wore on my first day of kindergarten. So, I'd like to begin by inviting you to join for a bit of movement. If you need to adapt how you move your body in any way, please do so. If you can think of a time in your childhood when you felt joy while playing with friends or with siblings outside, please stand up. There we go. If you can think back to a time when you had fun playing sports, if you can, put your hands in the air, maybe give a little bit of spirit fingers. All right. And then if you can think of a time when you learned a new skill from a coach or a physical education teacher, give some high fives. Find a neighbor, give some high fives, move around. There we go. All right, awesome. Okay, find your way back to your seats, thank you. The teacher in me is very excited to start with that. I would just like to check and see if we can put the slides up. I'll be going to those in just a second, that would be great. So how incredible it is that so many of you had these experiences. But what I should actually say is how lucky you are, because we know that access to sports, play, and movement is far from equitable. So if we can take a look at these statistics, which show just how inequitable our country is. We are led to believe that sport is a rite of passage for American youth, and yet these statistics tell a different story, and it's trending in the wrong direction, with youth sports steadily becoming more exclusionary and more professional. I'm sure each of you have stories of your own, from players on your teams to schools in your district to your own children navigating the youth sports system. For me, I'm currently working with my daughter's elementary school to offer physical education for the first time in the school's history. They've never had it. They still don't. It hasn't been an easy path, and yet it's so important. We're here today because we believe that access to sports, play, and movement is a basic right, and yet too many kids are denied this right. This has huge consequences because there are so many benefits that can be accrued from moving your body and playing sports. Being active offers physical health benefits, encourages an adaptive response to stress, and lowers anxiety and depression. When kids have fun, they become more hopeful, and they experience more health-enhancing hormones. Relationships and a sense of belonging help kids become more resilient, and they're also core components of quality youth sports. Recent research I was part of showed that increased physical activity and youth sport participation could give over 1.8 million more quality years of life to Americans. It could also save $80 billion. So my question to you today is, what can you do? What can I do this week to get one more kid active? What actionable strategies can we generate today that will help more kids now, especially those who need it most? Along with getting more kids active right now, there's a need to focus on systems change. It isn't enough to help kids navigate an inequitable system. How do we simultaneously work to dismantle this system and rebuild a sport and play infrastructure with an equity lens? That's the focus of the summit today. I've been thinking about systems change for a while now. It gets my nerd, geeky side really excited. From my own research to serving on the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition Science Board, to editing a special issue with colleagues exploring race, racism, and anti-racism in sport. So to get us started thinking about systems change, I have a set of questions I'd like us to consider, which are adapted from a recent article I wrote with colleagues. First, who benefits the most from historical and contemporary status quos within sport and broader society, and who is disadvantaged and exploited from these status quos. I invite you to take a minute and let this slide sink in. And keep in mind that we are all marginalized or privileged by the intersection of different parts of our identities and lived experiences. Consider how this shows up when kids play sports. Youth sport is embedded within broader systems, structures, norms, and biases across the United States. The same isms that manifest in other parts of our society also show up in sports, and the same individuals, groups, and communities that benefit from the privilege and power associated with these isms have far fewer barriers to sports play and movement. We need to reimagine the youth sports system. To make this happen, we must consider who should be involved, and most importantly, who should be leading these efforts. All too often, those in positions of power and privilege reproduce systems of oppression, whether subconsciously, unconsciously, or consciously, and sports are not immune to this. This must be changed. One example of this, the white savior mentality. White people and others with incredible privilege should engage as activist allies, but the power must shift to voices of color and communities of color, along with others who are experiencing oppression and marginalization. How do we make sure that systems change is being led from the ground up rather than the top down or the outside in? And this leads to the final question here. How can we collectively work together to reallocate resources and establish a new political economy that is grounded in radical humanism rather than hierarchical beliefs? There's not a simple solution, but I'd like to offer a few ideas to get us started, and I'm really excited to learn even more today. Let's first begin with the huge mental health crisis facing our country, which Renata just spoke about. Here are a few statistics which can help paint the picture. 11.5% of young people have severe depression. 57% of teen girls say they feel persistently sad or hopeless. 57%. And in 2021, 22% of high school students seriously considered attempting suicide. This number rises to 45% of LGBTQ+ students. And yet, a staggering number of young people don't receive any mental health treatment. For example, 60% of those with major depression don't receive any treatment at all. And if you're wondering whether the isms I mentioned earlier apply here as well, they do. In 2021, 18% of white youth received mental health treatment, compared with just 12% of Black youth, 11% of Latinx youth, and 4% of Asian youth. One reason for this is that there aren't enough mental health professionals. Only 42% of K-12 schools offer mental health treatment services, and there are just 1.2 million mental health professionals across the United States. The need for mental health services far outweighs the professionals and services available. Might one solution be preparing the 6.5 million coaches and 28,000 physical education teachers to help fill this gap? Coaches and PE teachers could learn to check for signs and symptoms of need, and they could adopt trauma-informed practices. This would be a huge step forward for the mental health and well-being of young people across the country. And yet, even if coaches and others gained access to training and felt supported in their work, how many are paid enough to stay in these roles? This applies to everyone working in the youth sports system, especially those who are working in minoritized communities. We have to invest in the people who are designing and delivering the sports, play, and movement experiences our kids so desperately need. At the bare minimum, this means paying a living wage, but that's the bare minimum. How do we expect to attract and retain incredible people who have incredible impact if we don't provide competitive compensation and benefits? Ultimately, I'm hopeful that our collective efforts will transform where we are today, from inequity and stratification to equity and inclusion. We need to remove the current barriers and level the playing field so that all children have access to sports, play, and movement. Thank you.